Wow. Well, whatever you thought of the Thunderbolts, the MCU will never be the same. I think the Thunderbolts might be the deepest cut in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. The movie is a quiet rejection of the deepest philosophy of the MCU. So get ready for some spoilers, not just for this movie, but for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because buried in this film is a quiet but devastating rejection of everything the Avengers stand for. And I think that this means this team will have to die. It sounds dramatic, but I'll prove it. Welcome to Philosophy All Along. I'm a professional philosopher, and I like to use the tools of philosophy to help me understand the things I love on a deeper level. So what is the deep cut? It's really an Easter egg, and a painfully obvious one once you notice it. The Thunderbolts make a direct reference to Spider-Man inverted. Specifically, the creed we've all heard over and over and over again, with great power comes great responsibility. It's one of the most iconic, if not overused, lines in all of superhero media. But it's also one of the most haunting and damning. Because it doesn't just mean do the right thing. It means if something bad happens and you have the power to stop it, it's your fault. Why is Spider-Man compelled to stop crime? Not just because he can stop it, but because he believes he's at fault for the death of the people he loves if he doesn't. By failing to stop their deaths, he becomes responsible. Now imagine growing up with that. Imagine being a kid like Peter Parker was and carrying the belief that if someone dies, if someone suffers, it's because you failed. Not because the world is cruel or because people make their own choices, but because you didn't do enough. With great power comes great responsibility. That kind of trauma is echoed in the Thunderbolts. Yelena, for example, relives in her visions the trauma of helping kill her friend. She took an action that led to a death, and even though she was just a kid by Spider-Man logic, she is responsible. But the Thunderbolts clearly wants to reject that belief. Each of the heroes has made mistakes both big and deeply personal, and instead of pushing those pains down and using them as motivations to stop bad guys, the film seems to require that they come to terms with that pain, with those crimes, and use them as ways to connect with others. The way that Yelena connects with Bob. She tells him that she understands him. And what she means is that she understands what it's like to fail the way that he did. The Thunderbolts were marketed to us as a Guardians of the Galaxy style set of anti-heroes like Deadpool. But what we realize is that they're not just anti-heroes because they don't do normal hero things and because they violate the rules of being a hero by swearing and killing. They're anti-heroes because they seem to be saying they don't respond to trauma with punches. They respond with hugs. And I love that so much. Not only is it a rejection of the standard MCU ending, the big fight at the end with the flashing lights and thunder-powered punches, which is cool, don't get me wrong. It's just also so worn out. This film is a deep cut because it forces us to face trauma instead of literally punching it down, which is why I was crying during the movie. Not because I was losing someone I love, like Peter in Infinity War, but the dang movie was causing me to reflect on my own personal losses and failures and traumas. It was really, really tough. It made me, and likely many people, think about forgiveness. What does it even mean to forgive yourself or someone else after they've done something terrible? And is it ever really enough? Can you ever do enough good to make up for what you've done? The Avengers don't usually ask that question. They avenge. They punish. They stop the next Thanos, the next Ultron, the next Kang. But they don't forgive, because to forgive is to let go of the pain. And the whole premise of the Avengers is that our wounds must always be reopened.
Because if we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn well sure we'll avenge it.
Forgiveness moves forward into a future of vulnerability, where you accept that being hurt again is possible, but choose to trust anyway that the person who harmed you and that could do it again, that they won't. Vengeance moves backwards. So it becomes a cycle where we punish the person, they feel like it's unfair, so they punish us back, and then we do it again and it keeps revolving. Think about it. For the Avengers to exist, there always has to be someone to fight, someone to avenge. Forgiveness breaks that cycle, and that makes it dangerous to anyone who benefits from that cycle, like movie moguls. The Thunderbolts, they're not just a darker version of the Avengers or even the new Avengers. They're the opposite. the anti-Avengers. The Avengers literally tossed into the void. Think about the void for a second. Friedrich Nietzsche, a famous philosopher, once said, "When you stare into the abyss stares back into you." But it's not just about darkness. It's about what happens when you try to fight evil, and in doing so start to become what you fight. Because the whole quote is, "Be careful when you hunt monsters, lest you yourself become one. When you stare into the abyss stares back into you." I think that speaks to the problem of vengeance, to avenging. It becomes a void where you have to punch and punch and punch until there's nothing left of yourself. This is exactly the problem with the void of Sentry. His power is immense, but using it pulls him into the abyss. He becomes the thing he's trying to defeat. He's like a warped version of Spider-Man. Instead of great power creates great responsibility, it's great power creates danger to yourself and everyone you love. He is literally the opposite problem of Spider-Man, but it's exactly the problem of vengeance. In fact, it's what Sentry means, someone who protects. Forgiveness means giving up self-protection and being vulnerable to possible future harm. So Sentry is at his core the problem of protecting oneself from ever being hurt and therefore not allowing forgiveness. So here's the philosophical core. What do you do when meaning itself seems to collapse under the weight of trauma and regret? When your past is so heavy, your power is so destructive, that being an Avenger might be impossible without destroying everything you love, like Sentry. What can you do other than simply let pain happen and hug it out? Because when he lets himself become Sentry, when he becomes self-protective, when he lets himself follow Spider-Man's logic, he becomes the void. So his only option is to forgive. This is what philosophers like Soren Kierkegaard were wrestling with. The feeling that life is full of pain and absurdity, and the only thing left is to take a leap of faith. Not in God necessarily, but in forgiveness. In the possibility of being loved and loving again despite everything. A leap away from the void into a possible future where those who could hurt you don't. Where you're not being a sentry of your own feelings, trauma, and pain. So when we see characters like Bucky Barnes or Yelena, people who have every reason to keep fighting, instead reach for connection, for compassion, for each other, that's not just character growth. That's philosophical rebellion against the very premise of the Avengers. And that's why they will fall. Because in a universe built on vengeance, on always having a next battle, the Thunderbolts' choice to heal instead of harm might make them expendable and necessary to remove from the equation. Their forgiveness may cost them everything, and in doing so pave the way for Sam Wilson's Avengers to rise. The good option? Well, Sam isn't Tony. He's not even Steve. He's something else. His arc in Falcon and Winter Soldier was never about avenging. It was about rebuilding, listening, healing. So maybe his team will break the cycle. But probably not. Because here's the most painful likelihood. If Marvel needs a new villain every phase, then we, the audience, might never get the resolution those characters crave and need. The machine keeps turning. New crimes, new wars, new vengeance. They need to get butts in seats, after all. And that means the very thing the Avengers were built to do, avenge, is also the thing that ensures peace can never last. Maybe to forgive is to walk away from the franchise entirely, because forgiveness doesn't make for sequels. But what are we fighting for, if not the love and connection that comes with forgiveness? So yeah, the Thunderbolts aren't just heroes. They're the MCU's quietest rebellion. Not even anti-heroes, but anti-Avengers. And I love them for it. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoy philosophical deep dives into the MCU, please check out my other videos. I do a lot on politics too. It gets depressing, but it's important. You can find that on my page as well. Find me wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, ring the bell for alerts, and share it with others who might enjoy it too. It means a lot. Did I miss an important philosophical point? Please pop it in the comments. It's great to talk with you about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and these heroes that we all love so much. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day.